It's June 7th, 2026. Welcome to yes2hellwith.com. This video is for the President of the United States, Mr. Donald J. Trump. Mr. Trump, I am Bo Johnson, the creator of the Liberty Dialogue system. I am a graduate of the Virginia Military Institute, class of 1987. I served as a regular Army officer in the field of military intelligence and as a company commander. I am a father, and I am one of many Americans whose life was shattered by the power of the federal government. In 2012, a SWAT team arrested me in a public restaurant. 15 armed agents surrounded me with rifles and pistols with red dots bouncing off my chest. My alleged crime? Failure to sign and file a federal income tax return. Not violence, not theft, not fraud. Failure to sign a form. Yet the full force of the federal government descended upon me as though I were a dangerous criminal. I was shackled, photographed for a mugshot, placed in isolation with murderers who were serving 2 and 3 life terms. I was shackled at the ankles with my hands at the waist. When I was showered, I was shackled in the same way. When I returned from the shower, again shackled to go 15 feet to my cell. For months, I lived in a concrete box. I did not see the sun, feel the grass, or feel the wind upon my face. Food came through a slot in the door. Human contact became a thing of the past. I was there for months. And while enduring those conditions, I was expected to defend myself against the most powerful government on earth. The government claimed that after nearly 20 years of studying the federal income tax laws, that I intentionally violated a known legal duty. For 2 decades, I studied statutes, regulations, court decisions, legislative history, and government publications. I wrote to members of Congress, senators, IRS agents, IRS officials, without ever receiving a direct response to my queries. Whether my conclusions were right or wrong, they were the product of years of study. Yet the government somehow stood before 12 jurors and claimed to know what was inside my mind, that I had evil intent, criminal intent. How does any prosecutor prove what another human being honestly believes after decades of study? The consequences did not end with prison. Upon release, I had nothing. Today, my children do not even speak with me. I was homeless. I lived out of a used car that someone gave me. At times, I slept on the floor at my mom's house or at a friend's house because I had nowhere else to go. I could not rebuild my life. I could not obtain a bank account. I could not obtain a passport despite having had one years earlier without the use of a social security number. I applied for the restoration of my state rights. The request was denied because I would not provide a federal social security number. Think about the implications of that. Eventually, life became so intolerable that I left. I left the country of my birth and came to Mexico and applied for asylum, seeking nothing more than peace and an opportunity to start over. Mr. President, you understand something very few Americans do. You experienced the machinery itself. You experienced investigation, prosecution, conviction. Years of your life were consumed by government power that was directed against you personally. Now, whether people agree with your politics is irrelevant. What matters is that you know what it is like when government turns its sights upon a private citizen. You know what it feels like to stand against the apparatus. And because of that experience, perhaps you understand something that many public officials never will. Behind every file is a human being. Behind every indictment is a family. Behind every prosecution is a life that may never fully recover. The question before America is not whether government should enforce the law. The question is whether the government should be ever allowed to exercise enormous power without equally enormous accountability. What happened to you and me should concern every American. not because our circumstances were identical, but because both reveal the same danger. Government is capable of inflicting extraordinary damage upon the lives of individuals, and when it gets it wrong, the consequences last forever. Mr. President, the American people deserve better than repeated tragedies at the hands of governing officials. They deserve a government that remembers humility, a government that values truth above institutional preservation, a government that understands that power must always be restrained by accountability. Most importantly, they deserve a republic where justice is measured not by convictions obtained, but by lives protected. And sir, Mr. President, as always, may truth reign supreme.